Good morning, and welcome to this Wellington Business Expo live stream. Today, I am joined by Hannah McQueen from Enable Me. How are you this morning, Hannah?
Very good, thank you.
Great. It's lovely to have you with us today. Hannah is a financial strategist and a business coach for Enable Me. And today, she'll be presenting on how to create business efficiencies, building momentum, developing a strategy to maximize returns, and how to unlock potential and drive greater value in your business. Before I hand over to Hannah, please remember to ask any questions you have below in the comments section of this video, and Hannah will answer them for you at the end of the live stream. I'll hand over to you now, Hannah.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk to you for about 30 minutes on how to build business resilience, which includes building some personal resilience from a financial perspective. I'm going to take questions at the end as well, so there'll be a few slides that you can watch. But for questions, please just pop them in the box and they will come up at the end, and Helen will facilitate me answering those in about 30 minutes time. So I'm just going to share my screen with you and we're going to kick off. Okay, so I run Enable Me, which is a financial strategy firm, and we work with people in a personal capacity and with businesses, and personal and business for some clients, to help them achieve their financial potential. And so many of us are self-employed in this country, and it's something that we're particularly passionate about, but we don't always operate our business as efficiently as we should. And the impact of that is we don't get paid as much as we should for the effort we put in. It takes more time and we probably carry more stress. And that is in a normal kind of everyday setting. And then when you kind of overlay COVID and economic uncertainty after that, it becomes quite heavy. And what I want to talk to you today is about how you can get in control of this and some levers you can be pulling now to improve your position. Because at the end of the day, a business should serve its owner, and it should serve that owner with money, with time, and with stress levels, and it tends to be the inverse. So I've got quite a bit to get through. We're going to talk to you about SMEs. So SMEs, or small businesses, are different than big businesses. So a lot of the rhetoric or advice that might apply to a big business is just not practical or appropriate for a SME. So I want to talk to you about SMEs and diagnose those a little bit more for you. We want to diagnose your situation, because whenever you're going to apply advice, it needs to be tailored for the nuance of where you're starting from and where you're trying to get to, the obstacles that you are particularly facing and the opportunities that you can lean into. And unless that strategy accounts for those things, the advice you're going to get is never going to be fit for purpose. So let's diagnose your situation accurately so you can determine what advice is going to be appropriate for you. Now, businesses at the current position are either in a flight, fight, or freeze stage. So let's work through that. Let's define what business growth looks like and balancing growth with resilience. I'll give you a case study and then we'll take some questions. So the elephant in the room for those who are watching today's presentation is that you can have a one-on-one consultation with one of my business coaches to determine where you're at, what you're capable of achieving, and how you would go about unlocking that. So that consultation is normally $350, and it's discounted to $100 plus GST for the month of October for those who want to take advantage of that. So it's a pretty good elephant. Okay, so when it comes to businesses, with small business especially, it's not just the business itself. When you are advising any small business owner, you need to understand the business, their personal finances, because the biggest draw normally on the business is the personal situation, and there tends to be a dysfunctional connection between the two. So we need to understand the business, the owner's personal situation, and the owner's mindset. You have got to be in a position to hear, receive, and apply. And for some business owners, I understand and recognize that the bandwidth is stretched so far that you don't think that you can take anything else on. But at the end, this business has to serve you. And if it's not doing that, we've got to determine with what bandwidth we've got, how are we going to change things in a meaningful way to get a result quickly. That's the most important thing. So what we know is that a third of small business owners use personal finances to manage business cash flow. That is not particularly unique, but it is dysfunctional. Because if your personal situation is not as efficient as what it needs to be, that means that you're drawing more from the business than what you need to. That's putting cash flow pressure on the business, and the business doesn't have enough space to do what it needs to in order to grow, to become more resilient, or to strengthen the cash runway. So in dealing with a small business, you've got to address both the personal side and the business side. And personal finance is not about sticking to a budget or financial literacy. It's about understanding your behaviours, your cadence of progress. And in too many instances, small business owners are not making the progress that they should for how hard they are working. So we want to fix that. Now, success means different things to different people, but with the clients that we work with, it tends to mean they want to earn more money, they want to have more time for themselves, because you tend to work longer hours when you're self-employed, and they want less stress. So more money, more time for themselves, and less stress. And they can lean into one of those three things, but really you want all three working for you. And the business, as I mentioned, is the interconnecting of the business itself, your personal situation, and the mindset of the owner. And if any of those three components are not as strong as what they need to be, all three will be let down. So we want to work on all three simultaneously to strengthen for the benefit of the owner. The sweet spot, obviously, is where they all interconnect. Okay, so let's start talking about New Zealand small businesses. 70% of these small businesses make less than $50,000 of net profit a year. Now that's not okay. We want to fix that. We need to make sure that you're at least earning what you would be earning if you were working for someone else, and you need to get a return on the extra time that you're putting in and the capital. And very few businesses, so 30% of businesses, are actually providing a salary to the owner of more than $50,000 a year. 50% of small businesses are cash flow negative. There tends to be influence when you go to pay your provisional tax. So you might be kind of keeping your head above water for those other 8 months of the year, but when it comes to paying your provisional tax, in many instances that grinds the business to a halt. It mops up any of your liquidity. Your resilience is just paid over to the tax department. We need to fix that. We work 20% longer hours than the rest of the developed world, but we achieve 40% less from a profitability perspective, or from a productivity perspective. We need to fix that, and we'll show you how to, but this is just the reality that we're playing in. And this was before COVID happened, and then COVID came along, right? And that put another layer of uncertainty. We know that 62% of small business owners, their profits have been negatively impacted by COVID. 59% of people, though, are excited about future opportunities in spite of COVID. So that's great, but how are we actually going to unlock that? The predictions are that there are at least 18 months more of uncertainty. So you need to be able to build enough resilience into your own situation that you can not only survive, but thrive in these unpredictable or uncertain times. That's what we're trying to create for business. We know that with uncertainty, that will impact your stress levels, your motivation, your confidence. You don't see things as clearly as you should. You're in the trenches or in the forest, and you're struggling to see the trees around you, which means that you indirectly make the wrong decision at the wrong time or in the wrong order, or with that limited bandwidth that you've got, you are focusing on the wrong thing that isn't going to derive maximum impact. So we need to, I guess, ring fence all of that, because it is in addressing all of that we can improve your overall well-being. And if we don't start to work out what we need to focus on in what order, within what cadence or pace, then it's only going to get harder for the next 18 months. And that's what we want to get ahead of. So the first thing you need to do, no matter where you're at in business, is we need to understand, well, where are you now? And people are at different stages. We know that some people are sinking which means they're going backwards on a day-to-day basis within their business and maybe even personally. Or some people are actually in a really strong position within their business, strong cash flow. They can see future growth. They've got 5-year plans that they're working to. They're excited by that. But as it stands, I guess your mindset is you are either in the flight where you're like, oh, I don't think I can do any more rounds of this uncertainty. Because I think what COVID did is that it tends to be hard to be in business anyway, but COVID was almost like a punch in the face for a lot of small businesses. And that's okay, you get these punches, but it's hard to plan when you're getting punched in the face, right? So there needs to be an acceptance or a recognition that there are a few more rounds of that uncertainty to come. And when you're faced with that, does that make you want to run away or fly away? Are you wanting to fight? Or are you just so panicked you don't even know what you need to do? Now, the clients that we work with are those who want to fight. And of those clients, they can be in different stages. The business can be in the early stages, so maybe a couple of years old. It can be a lot older. There might be fewer employees or lots of employees. But the commitment is we are going to actually get this business to serve you as the owner as it needs to. And if we're going to do that, we need accurate diagnosis of your current situation. So the stages of business, you are either in the survival stage, or you're in the growth stage, or you're ready to exit. Now, depending what stage you're at, there are different levers we need to pull in different orders to maximize the return to you. Now, when you're in a survival stage, that means that either the business or you personally have weak cash flows, or you're going backwards, or your pace of backsliding is too fast for you. So you can't stay in survival for long. You have to be able to build the business or your personal situation quickly to get you so that you can stabilize, and then you're in a position once you're stable to focus on growth. So for those clients that we work with who are in the resilient stage, that survival stage, that is about tactical movements or tactical actions to get your personal finances on track and the business on track within a 6-month period. It is intense, but all we're trying to do is to get it so that we can stabilize, because it's when you are stable that then you can then start to be more strategic with what you're going to focus on, so that you can derive greater shareholder value to you as the owner. So that means you can pay yourself more. There are higher profits, better cash flow, because profit, you can have profit without cash flow. We want both. But that's so that we can position the business so that it's ready to exit. We focus on improving your profitability because that is what serves the business value in most instances. So for those who are in growth, that's about strategic, maximizing profitability, maximizing the value of your business. And then when you're moving into that exit runway, that's assuming that there are at least 2 years before we exit the business. And it is the role of the business owner to extract as much money as possible from that transaction, because that you have served that business, and that is the time that the business needs to serve you as the owner. And these things don't just happen by default. You really have to drive these outcomes if you're serious about trying to unlock them. So growth looks like different things to different people, but normally it means that you've got more customers, more sales, and more profit. That's what growth means. Now, if you're trying to increase your customer sales, that could be getting more customers, or with your existing customers, get them to spend more. Or it could be getting existing customers to spend more often, more frequently. It could be keeping your customers for longer. It could be acquiring another business. So when we say we want to increase sales, we need to understand, well, which of those lines are more relevant to your particular situation? And then we work on different strategies to unlock those. If it comes to increasing your profit, well, that's a case of either increasing sales, but also reducing your cost of goods sold, reducing your overheads. It's about optimizing your resources, your capacity, and your utilization. When you're trying to improve your profit, you're trying to get systems improvement, so you're getting efficiencies. And we fight for little changes, because little changes make or can make incredibly big results or big impact if we can get everything working as it needs to. You measure what matters, And within that, working on a business, there could be, when we work through client situations, there could be 30 or 40 things that we could be doing differently that we work through. We're interested in what are the things that you put emphasis on that's going to give you the best return for the energy you're going to put into it. That's what matters, and that is what we measure. Focus on where you want to get those results. That's what you measure. And small changes can lead to big results. For example, if you were to increase your prices by 2%, increase your sales by 2%, reduce the number of transactions, reduce your cost of goods sold by 2%, and reduce your overheads by 2%. So that's just 4 lots of 2%, but in a particular order, well, that can create a 91% improvement in profit. It's about focusing on the right thing, but knowing what you need to focus on, right? There are so many things as a business owner that you want to get to. I understand that because I also am a business owner, but there will be certain things that are going to make the impact that we need for you as the owner, and that is the most important thing to be focusing on. Now, when you're trying to work out how much time you've got for some of these initiatives to come off, you need to understand what is your cash runway. How long do we have based on your current level of performance, and maybe even modeling or factoring in some conservative projections, so some more negative projections, how long before the money runs out? Because the length of your cash runway determines how far and to what extent you can lean into some of these initiatives, and it determines the order that we need to be unlocking things. If your cash runway is tight, we focus on getting efficiencies, quick wins very quickly, so that creates enough business bandwidth to focus on the things that are actually going to start to drive sustainable profit improvements. But we need to do that in the right order. Your personal situation matters for a few reasons. That normally the home is cross-securing or underpinning something in the business, or you need those business drawings in order to pay your mortgage. So I can understand that when the business is looking a little bit skittish, you yourself are thinking, oh, that's a little, that's not sustainable. If your personal tendency is also that you are a shopper, that can be a little bit dangerous when you're in financial survival, because your way of coping tends to be to spend money, and that's the one resource you don't have plenty of. But the two tend to be intertwined. So if we've got a business, the idea is to increase the profit so we can increase the cash flow, so you as the owner can be paid what you deserve to be paid, and then you take that personally and you optimize your personal situation at the same time. If you're in survival, though, we do it in reverse, which is we minimize your personal situation because that's the cash draw on the business, and then we optimize the business. And those two things give us enough space to stabilize the business so we can then focus on the growth. Your mindset is so important. I appreciate that it's exhausting being in business and you're running so many kind of strategies at the same time, and there are lots of balls in the air, but we need to be making sure that the business is serving you. When it comes to business, we have a profit mindset, which means we don't do things for the sake of it. It's got to serve the profit of the business or the owner. That's what we need to understand. And what I know about mindset is that you can engage more, you can try harder when you can see that your efforts translate to a result. So please don't use your previous business performance as an indication of what you are capable of achieving, because the results will astound you when you are working to a plan, when you are supported, when you believe in the effort that you're putting in will translate to the results that it needs to, and you are motivated to try. That is when you can create extraordinary results with similar levels of resource. Mindset is key to that. Here's a quick case study that I'll go through, and then I'll take some questions if there are any questions available. This is a client that we worked with. They were under 40. They had 2 employees. Their situation was high stress. So that was determined by me asking, how stressed do you feel? And they're like, I'm almost at the point of panicking. They're working more than 60 hours, and they had average profit. they were taking drawings out, maybe 100,000 a year. For the effort that they were putting in, not that significant, I thought. I thought that if they were working as an employee somewhere else, they would have commanded a salary of at least that level. But not only that, they were working harder, so almost 50% harder, so they should be earning more for that. And they had their money tied up in the business as well, so their capital needed to give them a return. So the business, I guess, as it stacked up, it wasn't performing as it should. If they wanted to compare themselves to other people, they were probably making more than some other people, but that's not the question you work to. It's, is the business capable of more, and what is required to unlock that? Now, their goals, and it's they wanted to lower their stress levels, they wanted to work fewer hours, and they wanted to increase their profit by $100,000 for the year. Now, ironically, if you want to work fewer hours, maybe it's a case of prioritizing work, but normally you need to find resource or capacity somewhere else because you are doing something that's needed in the business. So you actually need to spend more to invest in the business to allow you to work fewer hours, and it is in doing that that it also relinquishes this extra profit if we do it properly. So those were the goals. Now, this is what we did. We understood the goals and their capability. So they had a limited cash funds available. There wasn't this endless supply of money to invest in the business. They were earning the money to reinvest in the business as they went. We had to understand that. We had to model the worst case scenario so that we could reliably lean into or put pressure on the cash flow of the business. And you only want to do that, when I mean put pressure on, I mean that redeploying that cash flow somewhere else to invest it back in the business. You only want to commit to that if you know that you can rely on that cash flow. And you can only rely on cash flow if it's based on a worst case scenario, factoring in or modeling all the things that could go wrong. Otherwise, you shouldn't be committing to other things. So we had to improve their cash liquidity first. We had to get things a lot leaner before we could commit to the things that were actually going to allow them to achieve their goals. We addressed their personal cash flow and the impact on their situation. So they were drawing too much out of the business. Even though they deserved to be paid more, the business couldn't actually afford to pay them what it was paying them at the levels every single month, especially the months where they were having the provisional tax payment. So we had to then minimize their personal situation to allow the business to breathe again. So you can see how it's all interrelated. And you can also see why it's hard to get your head around it when things are going good. And it's almost impossible when you're in the trenches and there are grenades flying. We use data insights to determine what's possible. So we're benchmarking against their industry and against the particular business initiative that we're trying to achieve. We establish a strategy and an action plan. When we work with clients, we tend to work with them for 12 months. So we break that 12 months down into 4 lots of 90-day sprints. We want quick tactical wins for the first 3 months that buys us space for strategy to be applied and the fruit of that application to then flow back to the business owner. We then track performance and we have check-ins every 6 weeks. So that's what we do with the clients. And in their particular situation, we were able to track to 100K improvement in profit within the 12-month period. That meant that there was another $50,000 of extra drawings that they could take out of the business. So not only could they afford to pay themselves consistently in the months where the provisional tax was going out, they could afford to pay themselves more. Now, that then meant that with that extra $50,000, they were able to then pay off their personal mortgage 15 years earlier. So it went down from, I think it was 22 years to about 7 years. So not only was the business serving them more from a cash flow perspective, but they were then applying that extra cash flow to unlock another opportunity of progress on the personal side. Now, the benefit of all of that is they felt in control and they felt rewarded for their efforts. The stress level shifted from being overwhelming to manageable. That's success. Now, those who survive are not the strongest or the most intelligent, but they are the most adaptable to change. Now, I'm going to take some questions in a second, but normally if you want to have a consultation with us, you can take advantage of that. That consultation is normally $350 plus GST. It's half price for everyone who can cite this presentation if it's booked before October the 31st. You just need to pop to our website, enable.me, and click the request a consultation, request a business consultation, and just note the Wellington Business Expo is how you heard about us to qualify for that discount. Now, I'm going to take some question and answers, but for those who are itching to get a consultation with us, you can actually redeem that consultation at a cheaper rate again of $100 plus GST. You just need to book the consultation in the next 48 hours. You don't need to have the consultation, you just need to have booked that consultation, and you would qualify for that discount. So I'm going to take some questions. If there are questions available, I'm going to hand it back to Helen.
Great. Thank you, Hannah. That was really, it was actually really quite fast moving, but excellent content, so much content. It'll be a very useful resource for people to come back to and learn from. And it's great to see you've got two good offers. So, you always need a good call to action, and, people can watch live streams or go to workshops and that, but actually it makes a real difference when they actually take some action. So I think you've made it easy for people to take some action. Just wanted to pick up on your definition of growth, actually. So you said that it was growth in profit, sales, or customers. It's interesting, isn't it? Some people will define growth or success in terms of increase in revenue or staff numbers.
Well, yes, that's true. I had a client that, I guess our mantra is that the business has to serve the owner. And I had a client that said, look, since I've bought this particular business, I've increased the sales by, I think they took it from 750,000 to 1.2 million. Like, amazing. They almost doubled the sales. And she was looking at me wanting acknowledgement, and I said, well, that's great, that is a feat in itself, but your profit hasn't increased. So all that means to me is that you're working harder and you are not getting as much for that effort. So that isn't success to me, because as it's great. Like, I didn't want to dispel anything for her. I think that, a lot of work goes into increasing sales, but that's the easy part, is increasing sales. Increasing the bottom line, that is what you fight for. And a lot of Kiwi businesses aren't successful in doing that because it doesn't come naturally to us. We are good at doing the thing that we do, but to actually translate that to a return for shareholders, we are poor. And it's it just frustrates me because the shareholder is the owner. So they're doing themselves out of monies. But I think growth sits in different areas, and it can be, you can focus just on the profit, but normally the first step is that you do increase the customers, or you increase the sales. But if that doesn't then flow all the way through to increase profitability, I would challenge, what is the point?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think it's a really clear focus, that piece of your presentation around either increasing profit, sales, or customers. I've certainly been in business situations where we've reduced staff and actually instantly, dramatically increased profitability. And I think some businesses who have responded proactively to the environment that we're now in with COVID will probably see that this year, that they will have reduced their costs quite substantially, and they may be a smaller company even, but their profitability could easily be stronger than it's ever been.
Yeah, I think that it's almost the horticulture theme, isn't it? That you trim, you prune, and you are ready for growth when it comes. And the fruit that you will bear will be better if you've had a cull through the organisation. I think that realistically, most businesses need to be having that review every year, because you seem to attract inefficiencies, and you're so busy doing what you're doing that you are giving money away as part of that process. And I think that's one of the benefits of working with a coach or having a proactive board, is that they are calling you out on some of these things that you just don't see because you are in well, it's warfare out there, and you need someone who can, with a step back, or who can see further, kind of 5 years down the track, and is helping influence your decisions. That's what you want.
Yeah, and they can see you as the business owner from outside as well, which is a real strength, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, excellent. The other thing I just wanted to pick up on what you said is that, I mean, I know your presentation's focused around small businesses, but what we've seen as a chamber with many of the businesses we work with, some of your lessons you're sharing today apply equally to well-established businesses as opposed to new small businesses. So some businesses that have been around a very long time and have many years of success behind them, and they've done really well in the past around profitability and sales and bringing on new customers, COVID could have dramatically changed that for them. So the lessons you're sharing are equally relevant to them, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. And with the businesses that we tend to work with, they are more established businesses. So the lessons are the same, whether you're new or whether you are more established. I think that as the business owner, what tends to happen, and because obviously I'm a business owner as well, and I work with a team. I've probably got a team of 70 that are at Enable Me, and we started from a team of one, me. So I know the challenges of growing a business. It is hard and it is relentless. And if you're doing that organically with your own cash flow, it's hard. It's really hard. And I think that what COVID has done, whether the good or the bad, is it's given a lot of people permission to look at what they have got. Is it serving them as they need to? Because we all got kind of sucker punched as part of that process, and we've got a few more rounds to get through. And I think it's giving people permission to say, actually, I need to get more from my business. That this is not okay, the results that I'm getting, or I'm working really hard, but I still want there to be more pay. I still want to receive more as the owner. I was working with a client last week. They were taking out a couple of $100,000 each from the business each year. So on one hand, you're like, well, if you compare yourself to a lot of people, that's good. But that isn't the comparison. The comparison is, but what am I capable of getting with the same amount of resource? And for them, there was another 30% improvement that could be unlocked. But I think the beauty of COVID from a business and a personal situation is that a lot of people were quite relaxed about their finances, whether it's business or personal, and it's really been a bit of a wake-up call to say, actually, I need to drive an outcome here. Let's not be so relaxed. Let's actually take advantage of this opportunity. And if you are in a business that can take advantage, by jingoes, you should be. And this is the time to do it, because you will pull away from this noise and this uncertainty, and you lean into it. And that's success, if you ask me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fabulous. Thank you so much, Hannah. I don't know if we've got any other comments come through or questions, but can I thank you so much for sharing your expertise this afternoon. I'm sure it's going to be a really useful resource for the listeners who have joined us this morning, but also those that will view us on YouTube and on the Chamber Facebook and the Expo, Wellington Business Expo website as well, and your stand that you've got on the Expo. So it's going to be a really useful resource. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. And if someone wants to get in touch with you and take you up on those offers, Hannah?
They just need to pop to Enable, our website, enable.me, click on the request a business consultation, and that will trigger those discounts to flow through, and they'll speak to one of the team.
That's lovely. Thank you very much. So thank you all for tuning in today. Our next and last Expo live stream will be Wednesday, the 21st of October. That's tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. And if you haven't registered for our big business bash, that's for Thursday, the 22nd of October. That's an in-person event. We're going to host you all at the Lower Hutt Event Centre, and that's courtesy of the Lower Hutt Event Centre and Riverlink. So if you're a member of the Chamber, actually that event is free. If you're not, you can get that event for free by joining the Chamber. Otherwise, you're all welcome to join us that event. It's just a way to round out our Expo and start putting this very challenging year behind us and and look forward to the future and think about what we're going to do next. And, a great way for us all to reconnect and come together and celebrate the fact that we're at level 1. Long may that last. And let's all meet each other and see if we can support each other for whatever's coming next. So if you haven't already, please also visit the Expo website. That's wellingtonbusinessexpo.nz. Take a look at our over 70 stands we've got on there for you. They will be live for a long time, but I encourage you to look this week because there's a lot of Expo deals and prizes to be won, which will close off on Friday. So encourage you to take advantage of those again. Thanks again, Hannah, and thank you all for listening today. Hope you all have a great day.